Good morning, principal, teachers, and schoolmates. After rounds of interclass debate in January, today we are excited to have the second LKKC Cross-form Inter-class English debate in the school. I'm the chairperson, Aiden Zheng from 4B. Joining me is our timekeeper, Ivy Wu from 4D. Today's debate is on the motion, the House regrets the rise of preferred pronouns. I'd like to introduce the team now. The first speaker of the affirmative team is Jeffrey Lai from 4A. The second speaker is Michael Chan from 4D. The third speaker is Esther Zhang from 4Boy. And the fourth speaker is Ivan Gao from 4C. And now to introduce the opposition team. The first speaker is Ruby Lee from 5A. The second speaker is Angson Tan from 5C. The third speaker is Yang Q Ko from 5D. And the fourth speaker is Sophie Lee from 5Boy. Today, we are honored to have the following adjudicators. Our assistant principal, Mr. Low. English Department Chairperson, Miss Dian. And our debate team coach, Mr. Shen. About the debate rules, each speaker can speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. There's one bell at 1 minute and another at 4 minutes to indicate the start and end of the POI section. 2 bells at 5 minutes and 3 bells at 5 minutes and 15 seconds. The speaker must then stop, otherwise he or she will be penalized. For replies, there's 1 bell at 1 minute and 30 seconds and 2 at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. There will be no POI for the reply speech. To let you know more about the motion, here's a video we've prepared.
Oh, she's not filming. She identifies the camera. So.
That isn't the point. The fact is...
That is the point.
The fact is that people identify in different ways. And when you get bogged down by the idea that children might know that they're different, that they might be helped to understand why they're different, that the teachers teaching them might be prepared with the apparatus to explain it to them, that is a good thing.
For instance, whenever I'm late to work, which happens a lot, I'm not going to lie, I just self-identify as translate. Not translate like the language translate, but...
Now, to start the debate, the first speaker of the affirmative team, Jeffrey Lai, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today's motion is the House regrets the rise of preferred pronouns. It is important to note that sex is a different concept than gender, as sex refers to the different biological and physiological characteristics of males and females. With Harvard's definition, preferred pronouns are the pronouns that a person chooses to use for themselves, that we use to refer to people in sentences and conversations. We propose the extent to the usage of preferred pronouns is to the people who are actually biologically in need desperately, who are intersex people. Now, let me introduce our team line. Pronoun preference is false, twisted, and unapproachable to promote gender inclusivity. As the first speaker, I will explain the inevitable fact that the usage of preferred pronouns slowly eliminates free speech. Our second speaker will demonstrate how this will bring chaos to the language system. And our third speaker will prove to you how the rise of preferred pronouns creates unnecessary conflicts. The fourth speaker will state how this creates pressure on children's gender identity. Last speaker will sum up. Before we start, let me tell you what the meaning of freedom of expression is. The right to express your ideas, including your beliefs in controversies, and the violation of free speech is to restrict others' rights to do so, including compelling others to refer you in a certain way. Ladies and gentlemen, the current world is evolving, and over the years, we are slowly promoting the importance of freedom. That is exactly why preferred pronouns are created, to let people who don't identify as the gender they are born with. It is true that the rise of preferred pronouns allowed a non-binary community to fit into the worldview. And people started... Wait a minute. And people started showing basic respect for their gender identity. Yes, what was your question?
As you're regretting the rise of preferred pronouns today, are you ignoring or disagreeing with the people who feel comfortable using preferred pronouns? And are you going to treat them like how people treated the gays in the 70s, asking them to shut up and pretend this phenomenon is gone?
Yes, responding to your question, no, we are not completely denying the fact that gender identity is preferred pronouns is completely useless. But what we're promoting is that gender identity introduction and pronouns are for people who are actually in need, and they bring more chaos into society rather than benefits. Well now, however, now that preferred pronouns have risen to a point where people are now legally obliged to use preferred pronouns, according to the Federation, using the wrong name and pronouns to refer to a non-binary person could contribute to an unlawful hostile environment and is a violation of the Civil Rights Act. For example, a Virginia high school French teacher was sued and fired for refusing to use a transgender student's preferred pronouns. The teacher said that this was due to his religious beliefs that prevented him from using male pronouns to refer to a transgender male student. Another example, Natalie Wayne, a trans woman who has built a large following on her YouTube channel. She was a victim of being cancelled and criticized because she does not buy into the concept of pronoun introductions, and posted a tweet about how annoying it is to state her pronoun all the time, and that she feels unbothered that people call her by the wrong pronoun. This trans woman even got backlashed and doxxed, even for trans people, the main stakeholder of the issue. When it comes to the topic of preferred pronouns, people now become overwhelmingly sensitive and aggressive. Yes, what was your question?
As you mentioned, religious problem, there are different kinds of religions. If you regret the rise of preferred pronouns caused by respecting the people who believe in religious beliefs, and some do not may believe in any religious beliefs, should we still respect the people without any religious beliefs?
I don't really understand your question, but I think it's something about religious beliefs. But this is not the only reason why people are refusing to use preferred pronouns. They are using preferred pronouns mainly because religious beliefs, scientific reasons, and many more. So, as bad as it is to tell people what they can say, it's even worse to tell people what they must say. Freedom of conscience and individual autonomy means freedom to refuse to say anything that runs counter to our values and beliefs, no matter how badly those want us to express views and ideas they support. Preferred pronouns are forced, twisted, and unapproachable to promote gender inclusivity. Indeed, using inclusive language allows non-binary community to feel accepted and respected, but we should not forbid people from expressing their refusal. If so, what are we even fighting for anymore? Violation of freedom? If that's how you want to reach gender inclusivity, I'll feel ashamed if I fail to defend this motion. Thank you.
And now to open the case for the opposition team, let's have Ruby Lee.
Good afternoon, judges, debaters, and guests. Today, we, the opposition, stands firmly against the motion, the House regrets the rise of preferred pronouns. Let me begin by introducing our team line. Embracing preferred pronouns cultivates a civilized society and propels constructive social evolution. As the first speaker, I'll show you on how the rise of preferred pronouns contributes to a more civilized society. And our second speaker will provide evidence of how preferred pronouns improve the mental health and well-being of transgender and non-binary individuals. Our third speaker will elaborate using the social conflict theory. And our fourth speaker will demonstrate how it could foster innovative thinking. But first, some rebuttals. As the first speaker of the Affirmative stated, that teachers were getting sued and fired for not able to express their own opinions. But first, let me clarify. Teachers weren't fired. If you check the sources, they're simply made to apologize. And on the freedom of speech comes with the consequences of saying that something is disrespectful or harmful to others will have consequences. The right to free speech must be balanced with the right to dignity and personal identity. Let me continue with my point. Later. Return to my point. To start the debate, let's imagine a civilized society. In a civilized society, people are free to express themselves without the fear of judgment or suppression. It's also where open dialogues and conversations could prevail, even in the face of disagreements. Referring to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a civilized society safeguards the freedom of thought and expression, allowing individuals to participate in public life without undue interference. So why don't we contrast this with the vision put forth by our opponents today? A society where a simple dialogue is rejected and where individuals are compelled to bear an unfit identity. Can anyone genuinely believe that such a society can be considered civilized? I certainly do not. Yes.
You have mentioned that preferred pronouns is to socialize a community, but there are lots of enforced language policies like Canada's Bill C-16, which can impose legal consequences for misusing pronouns. So how do you ensure these policies foster understanding rather than creating a culture of fear and forced compliance?
With these laws being established, people will come to understand that the rise of preferred pronouns is important in their lives. And if our opponents can put themselves in others' shoes, then please listen to me first. So I'll continue with my point. So let's take Thailand as an example. You see, Thailand is known for its discourse and prevalence of homosexual individuals. And studies done by the United Nations shows that over 8% of its population identifies as a part of the gay demographic. Such a huge population stimulates discussion, which paves the way to societal acceptance. In fact, in 2024, Thailand will pass a legislation legalizing same-sex marriage and replacing terms like husband and wife with individuals and spouses. Sounds good, right? But let us contrast this with how Thailand was before 2002, where homosexual individuals were listed as mentally ill in Thai law. So which society do you consider as more civilized? So trace back. If we were to reject the rise of preferred pronouns today and to prevent individuals from voicing out their opinions, could we reach a general acceptance in our society like Thailand in 2024? Or are we just the same as they were before 2002? I believe we all know the answer.
Point.
Therefore, we stand proudly here to embrace the rise of preferred pronouns because we value the expression of an open dialogue without the fear of exclusion or discrimination. And we believe in creating a safe space where marginalized populations can feel confident in voicing out while being respected and acknowledged. By normalizing preferred pronouns, we aim to establish a society free from oppression, harassment, or any other harm. And only by this can we truly build a society where controversy with civility is achieved. Moreover, pronouns are not mere words. They're tools for inclusivity and mutual respect. Traditionally, we're limited to binary pronouns he and she, but our understanding of gender has evolved as we acknowledge those non-binary individuals whose gender identities do not fit into the previous framework. As the president of the Institute of the Sustainable Diversity and Inclusion states, using pronouns is like saying I see you, I respect you, and I want to create a space where you can be yourself. To wrap up, I wish to express my gratitude to each of you for being willing to understand today's motion. Allow me to emphasize once more that the rise of preferred pronouns is not a threat, but a vital step towards a more civilized society. It creates a safe space where individuals can express themselves without fear of harm. Let us light up the world with the power of understanding and be the change of this linguistic revolution. Proud to oppose. Thank you.
Now, to continue the affirmative team's case, let's have Michael Chan.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to restate our team line. Pronoun preference is false, twisted, and unapproachable to promote inclusivity. As the second speaker, I will show you how these non-traditional preferred pronouns simply go against the languages with binary pronouns. But first, some rebuttals. The opposition team has just talked about the legal consequences, and I'm just going to say a very simple fact. Policies does not further foster understanding. In fact, forcing other people to address you by your preferred pronouns, it doesn't make you more motivated to change. It doesn't promote any change, and ultimately, how does it make you more civilized? And they have used the example of comparing developing countries and with developed countries like America, but it doesn't indicate that preferred pronouns is the reason behind they aren't being developed. It doesn't mean that the country couldn't thrive later. In fact, preferred pronouns is a very new idea, and we have limited understanding and research on it. And honestly, the development of countries has been going on for years and simply cannot. Yes, and also we understand that the evolution is necessary for society development, but mandating the use of preferred pronouns does not equal to the genuine social development. Rather, it risks imposing superficial compliance over authentic understanding. True progress hinges on organic cultural shifts and voluntary acceptance, not on enforced linguistic construct that may lead to societal division. Back to my speech. Ladies and gentlemen, there are people out there who wish to be categorized aside from a basic male or female, and therefore even forcing other people to correctly address them as the new gibberish they wish to identify, causing an assault on traditional grammar of languages across the world, harmful yet completely unnecessary. Young America's Foundation has clarified that pronouns are meant to convey objective facts about reality. If they're not going to perform that function, meaningful, useful words have been reduced to impotent nonsense. This is what preferred pronouns truly are. Yes.
So you mentioned the civilized society, and the rise of preferred pronouns is raising awareness of the word gender itself. If you're regretting the rise of preferred pronouns, are you trying to stop us from exploring humanity and reaching social harmony?
The exploration of humanity is not constricted inside today's motion, which is preferred pronouns. If you want to explore more genders, why do you want to affect our language foundations, which I will talk about more later? Preferred pronouns is not the only way to go. Back to my speech. Spanish, French, German, Russian, Italian. These are all famous languages that have a long history of having a developed language system that has a clear distinction between masculinity and femininity. Being binary pronoun systems means various aspects of grammar is easily affected by the inclusion of preferred pronouns like nouns, article usages, and adjective agreements. These preferred pronouns allow us to call one single individual as they. Queer genders are referred to ze/ze. The gender distinction of male and female is deeply rooted in the grammatical structure of these languages. These new pronouns are just so confusing and complicated that they pose a detrimental threat towards which. I would like to clarify that we do respect everyone who believes in the third gender or not, but being forced to address others by their preferred genders, by ignoring your beliefs, even to the extent of shaking the foundation of language systems, is simply unacceptable and unjustifiable. Language is a key element that displays culture and preserves its uniqueness. We can't afford to lose it for the sake of inconsiderate people. On the show Dr. Phil, it's clearly stated that there is no responsibility of other people to enforce your self-perception by matching the proposition that we must use preferred pronouns. And with the irreversible consequences it does to the well-being of different language systems, it's just not just. The purpose of language is communication. Britannica's study on languages can perfectly display how languages facilitate communication, i.e. the sense of transmission of information. Preferred pronouns, on the other hand, is an extra layer of information that is not only distracting, but introduces unnecessary complexity and confusion. Generally, you don't even need to call somebody a pronoun to be nice when you're speaking to them. If they want to address them directly, you use their names. If a woman says her name is Tom, I'll call her Tom because names are by definition intimate and arbitrary. You don't need preferred pronouns to show your identity and gender. Preferred pronouns are not only confusingly questionable, but also completely annihilate the basic principle of languages, straight up making conversations more awkward and making it a must to use them every single time someone is addressed. It's just anti-scientific and counterproductive. We can see the opposition team has only pointed out once. That means that they also don't know how to respond to our language system foundation, how they collapse. Our opponents simply ignore how to speak English. Therefore, today's motion must stand. Thank you.
Now, to continue the opposition team's case, let's have Anson Tang.
Members of the audience, if you have been aware, our team first speaker did not address you by trivial terms ladies and gentlemen, like the affirmative does. Why? Simply because we know how to respect different participants here and not to cause discomfort given a relatively conservative context of Hong Kong. Our opponents claim that preferred pronouns are not needed in our society. However, pronouns are a deeply ingrained part of English grammar and are used far more frequently than names in conversation. Pronouns are an established grammatical category used to avoid repetition and maintain fluency in communication. Preferred pronouns serve the same function, with a bonus on inclusivity, a positive attribute. Our opponents also said that the rise of preferred pronouns may lead to confusion or inconsistency in a language. However, is a slight adjustment in language too high of a price to pay? Is our dear opponents willing to see a society with a rising number of depressed, non-binary, later, and transgender individuals? By using preferred pronouns, we affirm people's identities, allowing them to have a sense of belonging. Humans ought to show respect to one another, especially when it could improve someone's mental health. Yes, what was your question?
You have mentioned that we should respect others, but why are you pressuring those who don't want to refer to others with that person's preferred pronouns, especially those who have deeply rooted religious beliefs, to be inauthentic to their own beliefs and asking them to be hypocrites?
Well, I don't really understand your question, but preferred pronouns can improve inclusivity and respect by acknowledging their gender identities, and it could challenge discrimination and foster empathy. It could create a powerful and inclusive world where individuals are seen, heard, and valued. Now, back to my point. Once again, embracing preferred pronouns cultivates a civilized society and propels constructive social evolution. The rise of preferred pronouns improves the mental health and well-being of transgender and non-binary individuals by showing respect to those individuals of diverse gender identities, enhancing their sense of belonging to a community. According to the ABCT, the Association of Behavioral and Cognitive Therapies, pronouns are important for conveying vital parts of our colorful identities. We use pronouns on a daily basis, but may not think about their meaning in each instance. Later, however, pronouns are essential for promoting safety, respect, and care for others. Understanding the impact of pronouns can be an important part of how we understand ourselves and interact with others in our personal and professional lives. The American Public Health Association published an article regarding pronouns in 2022, stating that they are a public health issue. Use of trans-inclusive language, including the use of correct pronouns, affirming various gender terms, and the promotion of gender-neutral language, such as using the word people instead of men or women, has a profound impact on the comfort and well-being of trans and gender diverse people, TGD in short. Yes.
Our first speaker has already mentioned that the rise of preferred pronoun is eliminating free speech, and we have already told you that you are disrespecting the religious background people. Then why would you regard such a violation of basic human rights as a form of improvement of the society? What's the point of sacrificing the rights of the majority in order to favor the minorities? Thank you.
Well, according to various cases on news, it is not offensive to ask for someone's pronouns as long as you're genuinely not knowing their pronouns, and it's perfectly fine for asking their pronouns in their first meet. That is, according to the San Diego State University, it's backed up by a lot of research, and as long as you make correction, and it's gonna be fine. The use of trans-inclusive language, including correct pronoun use, is a fundamental component of gender affirmation. In fact, trans and gender diverse people whose gender identity matched their legal documents had a 32% reduction in serious psychological distress and approximately 25% chance reduction for committing suicide than those whose identification did not match their gender identity. When we honor someone's preferred pronouns, we allow them to express themselves authentically and be seen for who they truly are. This is a fundamental human right that should be protected and celebrated. Thank you.
Now, to continue the affirmative team's case, let's have Esther Zhang.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you really feel disrespected when we address you guys as ladies and gentlemen, as our opponent has said? Don't you guys think that when they address you guys in members of the audience, that actually makes their speech more complicated and more difficult to understand? And now, as the third speaker of the affirmative team, I'll show how a considerable amount of unnecessary conflicts hinges on the ramifications of the rise of preferred pronouns and why it should be avoided. First, some rebuttals. Our opponents have stated that the preferred pronouns is an essential in the development of our society. However, yes, we understand, but mandating the use of preferred pronouns does not equate to genuine social development. Rather, it risks imposing superficial compliance over authentic understanding. True progress hinges on the organic cultural shifts and voluntary acceptance, not on enforcing linguistic constructions that may lead to social division. While some consider preferred pronouns as a way, now back to my speech.
Point.
Yes.
As a second speaker have mentioned, it is hard for young age people who have a weak language foundation to digest the usage method of preferred pronouns. What if we start educating them at an age that they are willing to accept it and willing to understand it? Are you still regretting it?
Yes, I agree that starting to educate our children at their younger age will increase their chances to accept preferred pronouns. However, we have to actually dive deep into whether preferred pronouns are beneficial to our overall society development. Doesn't that make our language system so much more complicated? Are you denying the benefits of the words that we have collected throughout the years? Are you denying the benefits of all of the history of languages? Ladies and gentlemen, do you think that our society will ever agree on any rising controversies? With each individual comes diverse opinions, and with the rise of preferred pronouns, there is no exception. While some consider preferred pronouns as a way to respectfully address people as the way they feel, others contend that it is ridiculous to exceed the two existing pronouns. It is simply unrealistic to accept mutual consent from the public solely because of how individuals feel that way. Leah Thomas, a biological male who has undergone testosterone treatment, identifies as a woman to compete in university swimming competition. Yes.
Okay, so every argument of the society is a process to reach a better world. Like today, we are debating just to seek the answer whether preferred pronouns is regrettable or not. By your words, it's debating wrong.
Your debater has stated that preferred pronouns can improve society development, and I'm just simply rebuttaling that point. I don't see the wrong in that. Leah Thomas, a biological male who has undergone testosterone treatment, identifies as a woman to compete in university swim competition. Despite explicit data showing that testosterone cannot remove the advantage of men naturally having higher muscle density, Leah was still permitted to participate in every swimming event. Also, her teammates were forced to undress in front of a biological male, fully intact with male genitals. We are the problem, not the victims. We were expected to conform, to move over, to shut up. Our feelings don't matter, said former teammate Paula Scanlon. Another example would be a bearded man identifying as a woman in a weightlifting competition, then proceeded to proudly, without shame, walk out of the playing field with a medal dangling on his neck. Ladies and gentlemen, a person identifying as something that they clearly aren't deserves respect as long as it's not affecting the lives of others. But with the rise of preferred pronouns, that's simply not the case. Unfair situations in athletic events are occurring, and athletes are helpless, abandoned by the clearly biased system. Conflicts like this further proves that preferred pronouns are violating fairness, equality, and one's right to speak up. It's unacceptable from all points of view. Also, as preferred pronouns is an action in rising, some still consider it a trend. However, it is a stealthy snake, gradually seeping into every corner of the world. Eventually, its shackle will be unbreakable, holding everyone in its chokehold. The status quo is that chaos surrounding the rise of preferred pronouns has already commenced. The cancel culture would be the perfect example. Cancel culture refers to the practice of engaging in mass canceling as a way of expressing disapproval and exerting social pressure. A case in point is the cancellation of J.K. Rowling, the renowned author of the Harry Potter series. She once retweeted a post with content against the use of preferred pronouns, a major reason as to why she's cancelled. She got movie deals cancelled and received a gargantuan backlash from the non-binary community. As we can see, people are obligated to use pronouns even if it's against their own will. If one refuses to do so, they would get cancelled. Facing cyberbullying on the internet or even in real life, these conflicts should be unwanted, and without forcing people to compromise with words, all of this could have been avoided. Ladies and gentlemen, trans people are looking for inclusivity and acceptance that goes the same for everyone. While one has the right to use preferred pronouns, one should have the right to not use it. A simple principle, yet some doesn't understand. Thank you.
Now, to continue the opposition team's case, let's have Yan Q Ko.
Take a look around and consider the imperfections of the world. Today, the affirmative would like all of us to believe that unless every societal change is flawless, it has to be regretted. This is a fallacy. I trust we know it's simply unrealistic to think that way. Conflict is bound to happen. On the flip side, if you see no conflict, that means society is either completely mindless or they're heavily oppressed. Which one is more worrying? Today, I stand before you to argue that change has to be embraced for our society to improve. Now, time for my rebuttals. The affirmative whines about how they don't have free speech. They're saying, oh, why are you forcing me to say the right pronouns? I want free speech. Let's compare this to another scenario. Why are you punishing me for saying that you're ugly and you deserve to die? I want my free speech. Now, do you know how ridiculous your definition of free speech is? Free speech does not equate to freedom from consequences of speech. Now, why is the affirmative mentioning transgenders? Leah Thomas as a case. It's already been proven that transgenders are real. There are women with male brains and males with women's brains. Also, preferred pronouns does not equal to transgender. It has nothing to do with our debate today. Like your first speaker said, gender does not equal to sex. Also, the affirmative says that the conflicts and harms are one of the points that we have to notice. But in the social conflict theory, there are temporary conflicts during each discussion, and we will eventually have to take a lot of time in order for it to reach a peace. I'll continue on with my speech. History has taught us that new ideas are often met with resistance. From the simple invention of vehicles to the invention of technologies, the older generation had its complaints, picking on the negative impact it's given them, talking about how the new generation is bound to fail. But isn't it funny how we all agree that with each new technological invention, it's been bringing more good than harm? We can't deny that our world keeps advancing despite the claims. We see that resistance occurs when new ideas are brought up. However, it's not a failure, but it's a signpost on the road to progress. Social conflict theory proposed by Karl Marx suggests that conflicts are not just inevitable, but they're necessary for societal advancements. The rise of preferred pronouns, much like the challenges faced by other societal movements, I'll accept it later, is simply a stage in the journey towards understanding and acceptance. Go.
You mentioned that we have to embrace the new ideas to develop our society. However, new ideas doesn't necessarily mean good ideas. Like we are talking about the rise of preferred pronouns are bringing more harm to the society rather than the benefit. And it is only leading to public discontent and we will fail at the process of development. Then why do we still need to do so?
Thank you for raising that point. As I just said, new ideas require discussion, and it requires people to have small conflicts in order for us to reach a good conclusion, a common ground that everybody or most communities in our society agrees with, and we're all comfortable with. That's why we need the rise of preferred pronouns. Thank you. I'll continue on. For example, decades ago, conversations about gay rights were considered taboo, which is where the concept of preferred pronouns originated. If we go back a few decades, people could have been subjected to lobotomies for simply coming out as gay. It was not only forbidden to disclose one's sexual orientation, but also to discuss it openly. Fast forward to now, gay marriage is legalized, and it is unequivocal that people can respect and understand each other. Individuals who identify as gay no longer have to feel like they are committing a crime simply by living their truth. How did this change come about? It happened because society engaged in necessary, albeit difficult, conversations. People opened up the conversations on how being gay is not a mental illness, gradually amending laws that discriminate against homosexual identities, and slowly introducing the idea in a better light. The rise of preferred pronouns is part of this ongoing dialogue, and although it may initially spark conflict, history teaches us that understanding will prevail. Therefore, what our opponents are advocating for today is nothing more than an attempt to silence individuals and deprive them for the opportunity to acknowledge their own identities. By forbidding engagement in discussions and stifling our thoughts and expressions, they seek to prevent progress. The crux of this debate is not only about the legal validation of identity, but also the inherent dignity that comes with being seen and respected for who one is. Misuse of preferred pronouns is not a product of ignorance. It's not the concept itself that's the problem. The problem lies in the lack of education and awareness, and the solution is clear: to educate, spread awareness, and eliminate misconceptions. These temporary problems can be solved through education, while the long-lasting benefits can contribute to a better society. When we consider it in this light, is there truly anything to regret? Without friction, there is no polish. Fear of change is no justification for stagnation. Where they see confusion, we see opportunity. Where they see division, we see improvement. Let us not be deterred by the pain of progress. Thank you.
Now, to continue the affirmative team's case, let's have Ivan Gao.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, let me repeat our team line again. That pronouns preference is false, twisted, and unapproachable to promote inclusivity. As the fourth speaker of the affirmative, I will show you how the pressure added on our children by preferred pronoun causes harm to our future generations. But before we part, some rebuttals. Today, our opponent insists on telling us that with the rise of preferred pronoun, we will have a better world, we will have a civilized society. But let's just make things clear. Right now in the USA, people can identify as whatever they want because of the rise of preferred pronouns. They can identify themselves as helicopter, as ambulance, or even toothbrush. Then tell us, just convince us, how is it beneficial when our future generation identify themselves as ambulance? Before you continue your nonsense, yeah. And also, one thing to clarify is, in our first speaker speech, we have to make things very clear that we propose to extend to the usage of preferred pronouns to the people who are actually biologically in need. That means the intersex people or the gay people. And also, you talk about social evolution, right? And we tell you, preferred pronoun is just exactly hinders social evolutions by interrupting language systems. It risks imposing superficial compliance over authentic understanding, and also the true social progress should hinge on organic cultural shift and voluntary acceptance, not your enforced linguistic constructs that may lead to social division. Now, ladies and gentlemen, back to my speech. Let's start by considering our kids first. Imagine one day your 4-year-old son asks you whether they are boys or girls. How do you think you would teach him? Introducing thousands of preferred pronouns to him and let him choose? Definitely not. Our children and teenagers are just starting to understand the world, and we're throwing a bunch of preferred pronouns at them and saying the rules they just learned about boys and girls might not apply. This is completely beyond their comprehension. It's not giving them the clear, straightforward education they need. The rise of preferred pronoun is simply giving children pressure to conform to a system of pronoun identification that does not align with their personal experience or gender at a given moment. Now, moving on, when the society obsessed over pronoun accuracy, we are setting up a cultural norm that values surface-level conformity over true comprehension. This is not just a classroom issue, it's a broader social phenomenon that affects how our children understand the world and interact with the world. And this is why we must be careful not to cultivate a shallow form of inclusivity, where the right words are used without a heartfelt understanding later, or of the people they represent. Yes?
Okay, as you mentioned, some examples like children identify them as helicopter, etc. And when here, we need to know that new phenomena must have misconception. If today education can solve this problem, why can we use education?
Okay, I will tell you, actually, education cannot solve your problem with preferred pronoun. Let me show you this empirical proof. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our assertion that children may struggle with complexity of preferred pronoun is grounded by developmental psychology. Research, for example, Jean Piaget's theory of children's psychology demonstrates children's gradual progress in understanding abstract concepts. His work indicates that before the age of 11 or 12, most children are in the concrete operational stage, where they think only in concrete terms and struggle with abstract ideas. And in this case, it's just the fluidity of gender identity represented by preferred pronouns. Now, or in other words, back to my speech, ladies and gentlemen, children in such environments are going to prioritize adherence to social norms over the exploration of ideas. According to Bandura's social learning theory, children learn to replicate what they hear and see without fully processing the significance or the context behind it. This kind of learning is superficial and does not encourage the cognitive depth we seek to establish within our youth. The goal of pronoun education should be to foster understanding instead of replication. Now, the second point, the push of preferred pronoun, intended to foster inclusivity, but I tell you, it has unintentionally stressed our kids and teenagers. They are being asked to choose the preferred pronouns before they even know what their own identity is, because if their friends have one and they don't, isolation happens. Instead of granting them the freedom to discover themselves, it forces them to a premature choice.
On top of that, we have to remember that not everywhere in the world is open to talking about gender identity. In some places, such as Iran or Pakistan, sharing your preferred pronouns isn't just unusual, it can be risky also. By expecting everyone to adopt this practice without considering their culture and safety, we're not being as inclusive as you think you are. Now, true inclusivity requires us to respect the diverse circumstances to all individuals. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today we are just merely defending a world where respect is heartfelt, where language is a bridge, not a barrier, and where our children can stand tall in the knowledge that their voice is heard and valued. Thank you.
Now, to continue the opposition team's case, let's have Sophie Lee.
Good morning. I'm the fourth speaker of the opposite team. Before I begin with my points, here are some rebuttals. You mentioned that the language preferred pronouns interrupt the language system. However, language is naturally enforced and adapts to social changes. Just like we have embraced new technology, why can't we adopt new personal pronouns? And also, you mentioned that teaching of preferred pronouns to little kids, they're too young to learn the pronouns, but they haven't reached the age of learning that. With the race of preferred pronouns, they could at least acknowledge and understand it later when they're older. If they don't even know the proper way of saying their own pronouns, then how are they supposed to know this concept later? Now, I'll continue with my points. So we have introduced preferred pronouns as an innovative idea. Having innovative ideas introduced to the world have had a significant impact on society throughout history. They often contribute advances and changes to various areas in a positive way. As our team has emphasized, having preferred pronouns make people more connected to one another. They feel like they belong to the society and can fully express themselves. That's one of the positive effects such innovative ideas like preferred pronouns can bring to the world. We cannot deny that innovation is needed to create a better living. The reason of the world turning more diverse and interesting is because there is always something new being raised. Preferred pronouns used to be something non-existent. Nobody has ever thought of introducing themselves as a different sex from their physical shape. Even though deep down inside, they feel the distinction between the sex and gender that they were given, which leads to misgendering. Misgendering means assigning the wrong gender to someone. This might involve calling them by wrong pronouns or wrong name. It could also include insisting a person is wrong about their own gender. Addressing someone by misgendering them can feel disrespectful and even threatening to gender-diverse person. Misgendering results in marginalization and communicates later that a person's identity is not seen as important. It's also a sign of respect during NEA-hosted webinar on pronouns. Using preferred pronouns allows individuals to communicate how they want it to be referred and recognized in terms of their gender identity. Being referred to by their preferred pronouns can help reduce experiences of discomfort and may arise from being misgendered or referred using pronouns that don't align with their gender identity. It can contribute a greater sense of self-acceptance, belonging, and this is how preferred pronouns do good to non-binary people.
So as you mentioned, language is evolving. So previous evolutions of the English language simplify pronunciation and facilitate grammar. However, as we have explained, preferred pronouns do the exact opposite. Tell us how this evolution is beneficial.
I would like to, why do you always mention English, like preferred pronouns? Shouldn't preferred pronoun deserve a raise in other countries using non-English? So I think preferred pronouns can be raised in other countries apart from those countries using English as their mother tongue. So now I will continue with my points. Not only preferred pronouns bring benefit to non-binary people, but also for male and female. Embracing the use of preferred pronouns encourages personal growth and learning about gender diversity. The Harvard Crimson reports that the Faculty of Arts and Science registration tour, which typically asks students to write down the gender marker in terms of male or female or transgender, now for the first time allows students to write in the preferred pronouns when they register this week. Innovative ideas like preferred pronouns has expanded to such a far-right educational organization like Harvard University. They promote the use of preferred pronouns and educate the young. To normalize the idea that gender is not strictly binary, male or female, it recognizes and respects the wide spectrum of gender identity that exists, including non-binary. With an innovative mindset, I want to encourage you to generate your own definition of creativity. Let any other concepts like preferred pronouns reflect you, no matter they're scientific or not fixed. We all know that in those English-speaking countries, some preferred pronouns are created and it started to gain people's attention on that. How about in Asian countries? Should preferred pronouns deserve to gain a little more race so people using other languages in the mother tongue also have the chance to choose their own pronoun? It creates a more comfortable space for individuals to express their gender identities. It's a step forward breaking down barriers and gender stereotypes in Asia, especially those countries with more traditional customs. For instance, the use of gender-neutral pronoun when writing the Book of Transgender in Hong Kong, a guidebook for transgender which Learn published in 2012. They said they hope everyone respects people's gender expression. In conclusion, the race of preferred pronouns is an innovative act and push the world into a more comfortable environment. As our teamline said, embracing preferred pronouns cultivates a civilized society and promotes social evolution. Thank you.
Now, to conclude the case for the opposition team, let's have Yanqiu Ko.
Today, if we regret the rise, we regret the civilization of our society. We regret the progress that creates more acceptance. We regret the amount of lives saved from the rise. The opposition has a very unique way of talking about freedom of speech. I'll make it easy for you. There are people I hate because they act contradictory to my beliefs. Does that mean I get to yell at them? And does that mean I get away without any consequences? Because, hey, that's my personal belief. You're stopping me from my freedom to speak. Just as society enforces law against hate speech and discrimination, encouraging the use of preferred pronouns aligns with protecting individual dignity. The affirmative says that preferred pronouns meant that you can identify yourselves as a helicopter. But have you heard our first speaker? She has mentioned that pronouns are used to define gender, not objects. It's been approved by the World Health Organization. Have you even listened to my speech? I've said that there are cases of misuse, like I'm a helicopter. When these situations come about, education is obviously the way to solve the issue. Hence, the misunderstandings, which are only a temporary struggle, can be resolved anyways. Now, the affirmative has also mentioned that people can be punished because they can't catch with the large amount of pronouns, blah, blah, blah. Ask. All you have to do is ask. Do you not know what asking is? Simply ask and your concerns will be rest at ease. Or is a task too burdensome for the affirmative? I believe that's all for my case. Thank you.
Now, to conclude the case for the affirmative team, let's have Michael Chan.
It's time to stop the nonsense. Our opponent is simply hyper-focusing on promoting inclusivity, even when we keep telling them it's going to push children, it's going to cause conflicts, it's going to ruin all languages, it's even going to violate our basic human rights. And what did you earn? A failed attempt for inclusivity and causing hatred towards each other. Wow. From the start of today's debate, we have already told you, freedom of speech exists for the purpose of letting people criticize their government. Preferred pronouns exactly denies basic human rights, just so that you get in genuine respect. How would anything improve? How would you get civilized? We cannot control the development of new genders, but we can control our language to be unaffected. Just because these new genders don't forcibly fuse with pronouns doesn't mean they are neglected. I, you, we, they, he, she, it is in the Goldilocks zone for basic communication. It's completely unnecessary to add in an infinite amount of pronouns for all languages just because you want respect. Why are we focusing on English? No, it's all gender binary languages. Pronouns are not only in English. Where's your common sense? I'm done with tiptoeing around preferred pronouns. If this motion makes a trans woman ultra-sensitive because of an incidental misgender, it's completely unsustainable and counterproductive. Respect is earned, not demanded. For the fourth time from our team, true progress hinges on voluntarily acceptance, not enforced linguistic constructs. This is true societal improvements. When everyone doesn't can't voluntarily use preferred pronouns because you literally enforce them to, how is this going to contribute to civilizing? Our opponents are blindly chasing after inclusivity, yet completely ignoring the immature future generation and forcing them to be basically misgendering themselves, which is what you actually do not want because of today's motion. We care about multigenderism, but we can't leave the other children behind, especially the future generation. Let me get this straight. To seek an inclusive society, you mess around with our languages and you force people to follow your service rules. You know what? I'm scared of you. I'm scared because you're literally making the population scared of your community. WebMD literally shows the top reason for transphobia is because we're forced to address these sensitive trans people exactly by preferred pronouns, and this is Minesweeper. And you're telling me this, you want this to rise? I'm concerned, not just for the bizarre future ahead, but also your mental health. This controlling behavior is a symptom for personality disorder. This motion must stand because let's not drive them insane. Thank you.
That concludes the debate arguments. Hey Ivy, you know what? This year we have an exciting part.
Oh yes, everyone. Do you remember you have been told by your class teachers to bring along your iPads with you? It's time to vote.
For Form 5 students, please use the iPads on your right. Would two of you please share one device and pass it to others after you've casted your vote? Everyone, please scan the QR code on the screen now and pick the two best debaters in your mind.
So, Aiden, who are you rooting for?
Well, I'm not telling you, but surely the affirmative team is the best. As it's the Form 4s. Form 4, make some noise.
I mean, you know, we've got very experienced debaters in Form 5, so it's hard to tell. Okay, so let's get someone professional. May we invite Miss Dian for some comments? Miss Dian, please.
I'll just have a few words and I'll leave the professional comments to Mr. Shen. So for the negative team, I think you did a good job at doing all the research and telling us what a harmonious world that we are going to reach if we have a consensus. However, I think there might be a little bit too idealistic. Perhaps you could really paint us how harmonious and how ideal that world would be if we are really to reach a consensus. Because the affirmative team has raised the question on others' religious belief, and you also comment that education is the ultimate solution to all the conflicts or misuse of gender pronouns. Now, what exactly are you educating our kids? So where's the line? Where's the line that we stop students from identifying themselves as helicopter? That's ridiculous, of course. But then where do we draw the line? And the affirmative team you also mentioned, or negative team, I forgot, other languages. I think it was a golden opportunity to mention how in other language, they also genderize the nouns, right? So if the negative team is to advocate gender equalities. So are we also asking the foreign languages to stop putting genders on their nouns as well? Okay, so that would be some great rebuttal I could think of. But both teams, good job. Thank you.
May we now invite Mr. Shen for some comments.
All right, first of all, let's give a big round of applause to both the debaters and POI people over here on stage. And I have to say I'm very thrilled to see the debaters tackling this complex issue, and I'm particularly excited to see first-time debaters, especially for Form 5 and Form 4. It's inspiring to see you guys pushing your limits and basically embrace your challenges. All right, and in our English week, one of the aims is to foster global citizenship mindset. From maybe To Kill a Mockingbird in Form 4, and then to last year's motion in terms of colorblind casting, to this year's focus on basically the preferred pronouns. I think it's clear that all these are related to the idea of minority education, and I hope you can see all the teachers' efforts in breaking you guys free from the Tumen districts to become global intellectuals. And I believe that these complexities and potential alienation actually make it motion very intricate for you guys, but it's truly demanding and also very inspiring to witness both teams to extensively doing a lot of research and offering insights from the USA, UK, Thailand, and even the Middle East. We see a lot of theories from Karl Marx up to the kind of Piaget's theory in different kinds of social and also educational aspects, and all these are very enlightening for all of us, especially the educators and also the audience as well, I believe. Now, and I'm very proud of your deep engagement with the matter. As for the manner and method, we can observe styles in each individual speaker, and gentleman's style, aggression, and persuasive tone, we see a lot of diversity over here. And I'm happy to see how much you all have grown, basically, and present your enthusiasm with the issue. I appreciate how much you have directly, and also admit that you don't understand the POI, basically, but you still bravely try to answer that, and by means of linking back to your script, it's very well done, basically. And always believe in all the words you say, all right? Confidence empowers charisma. Okay, I think we surely can't wait for the result and also the lunch, so debaters find me for further comments in the future. All right, but proud to be your coach. And I'd like to thank all my colleagues, especially Form 4 and Form 5 English teachers, Principal Ying, Mr. Leung, Mr. Low, Miss Dian, IT department, and Campus TV for making all this happen. Aiden, pass it back to you. Thank you.
Okay, now here comes the most exciting part of this debate. Quinton, are the results ready? Thank you. I've got the results in my hands. Firstly, let's get the prize for the best debater. The best debater of this competition is Yang Qiu Ko from 4D. 5D. My apologies. We invite Mr. Low to present the prize. Mr. Low, please.
Next, we've got some strong questions from the POI. So here comes the Best POI Question Award, and the prize goes to Kelly Lau from 4A. May we invite Miss Dian to present the prize? Miss Dian, please.
For those of you who are wondering, there will be proper play and cert later on during the year-end ceremony. So excuse us for the notes and the snacks for the day.
Now, it's time for us to know which team is winning. The winning team, and congratulations to the opposition. May we invite Mr. Leung to present the prize. Mr. Leung, please.
Okay, so now let's have Mr. Shen to announce the prize of the Voice Our Choice Award.
Okay, yeah, so basically, I don't understand why we have got 986 people in the whole forums over here, but yeah, that's the votes we've got, and we have to respect democracy somehow. And the highest two people, well, the first one is 457 votes from 5A Ruby Lee, congratulations. And the first runner-up will be 327 votes from 5C Anson Tang. Congratulations. All right.
That concludes the debate. May I extend our gratitude to all English teachers for your help and support. Thank you for coming. See you again.
Many thanks to the debaters. This is the end of today's assembly. May we now pass the remaining time to Vice Principal Mr. Leung.